Hey everybody, and welcome to Freelance. But I'm going to be covering what are promoted listings on eBay and how can they benefit me in 2020, 2021, and beyond. But before I do that, make sure to subscribe to the channel, comment below your own input on promoted listings or just eBay in general. But we're going to jump right into it here. And promoted listings essentially get you more exposure to your listing. You're dealing with thousands and thousands of listings on a similar product, and you're likely not going to get a sale very quickly. You will eventually if it's a hot ticket item, but you're going to be buried in a listing and you're going to have hundreds or thousands of other sellers trying to sell the same item, and you're not going to get much exposure. And I'll show some examples here in just a little bit, so don't leave the video just yet. But as eBay highlights, some of the key benefits for eBay listings for promotion is boosting of visibility. Your items are more likely to sell when people see them. Promoted listings puts your items in front of more buyers, boosting visibility to up to 36%. They're not really saying that for more targeted niches, you don't really need the promoted listings, but obviously they're not going to highlight that on eBay. I'll show an example of that here later in the video, so make sure to keep on listening in. And then pay only for sales. You're not charged until a buyer clicks on your promoted listing and purchases the promoted item within 30 days. So that is something to keep in mind, that you can still do this promotion, and if you're still making profit off of it, it doesn't hurt to get that extra exposure, assuming you're selling an item that has many, many thousands of listings. Otherwise, you're not going to get much exposure. And then you have a guidance set up and promote and what cost and all of that. Detailed reporting, access to detailed campaign metrics and sales reports to monitor performance and fine-tune your campaigns. And then they have some success stories. Promoted listings help an electronics seller increase sales of their high-quality refurbished items by 179%. Reebok doubles its sales while only paying 6% in fees. So the fees it can be kind of substantial on the smaller items, but for larger items, it's not going to add up too terribly much, assuming you were trying to sell an item, you want to quick sell it and get rid of it. There's various items that you can promote. Obviously, most common item that you'd want to use for the promoted listings is ones that have a lot of listings, but you know your price is fair and viable compared to the other ones, so you'll be pushed right up to the top of the list with a sponsored listing. And then you can check, of course, what it also offers for the promoted listings is impressions, the number of times buyers viewed your promoted listing, clicks, and sold. And so you can kind of, after you're at it for a while, kind of statistically see if the inventory that you're trying to sell is all that viable for the promoted listings. If things sell on their own, you can list some selling on their own, some with the promoted listings. And then through the detailed analytics, you can determine whether what you're selling in particular is viable to any degree, and for some people it might not be. For most people it should be, assuming you aren't selling really, really niche items, and I will get into that here very soon, so keep on listening. And of course, your rates can fluctuate, but yeah, the main thing I'm sure most people want to hear is that how much your promoted listing cost. Ad rate is percent of an item's final sale price, excluding shipping and tax, and is only charged when a buyer. The fee. Yeah, lost there in a second. And head rate is the percent of an item's sale price, excluding shipping and fees, and is only charged when a buyer clicks on the promoted listing and purchases the promoted item within 30 days of that click. The fee is based on the ad rate that was in effect with the promoted when the promoted listing was clicked. There's other fees that are associated, but obviously, essentially what they're saying is that the fees can fluctuate depending on what you're selling and what the price of your item is for sale. But you generally don't pay too terribly much for it. It all depends. There's other breakdowns here too. Uh, Am I eligible for promoted listings quarterly credits? How do I redeem it? And it goes into details about that. I'll link to all this, but this isn't all too relevant to what I'm trying to focus on for this video, which is essentially, is it worth it to even do the promoted listings in the first place? They even go down into breakdowns of are people going to block it through ad blockers and things like that. And of course, example here, this is kind of what it looks like to an eBay buyer, that you're going to see all these basically sticky notes of products that people are trying to sell at their own prices. And of course, that leads to tons and tons of listings here. But as you can see, this is an example of just from Mario here, for example. There is 3,238 listings for Mario 64, and that means that if you are selling that in particular, you're listed below, thousands of listings, and you're not necessarily going to be on page one. You got this guy here. It's $25 and 271 sold. So obviously he thinks it's worth it. He's a top-rated seller, and he's investing in this, and it's a sponsored ad, which means that he is actively promoting this listing. Same thing right below. You got 140 sold, and as you can see here, $25.99 and free shipping. And basically, they're using a sponsored listing as well, so they're paying for a promoted listing to get those sales. And instead of being on maybe page 20 or something, and they might get a sale occasionally, they are on the first page for eBay for just Mario 64. Same thing with this here, Mario Party in 64, trying to sell it with a sponsored listing. And you can go down and down, as you can see here, and a more exclusive kind of interesting sell here. It's a cartridge. I'm not sure how legitimate that is, but as you can see here, a lot of them are priced at the listing. But then you go lower and lower, and you got people selling Mario 64 at a variety of different prices. Some might sell, some might not. And you got to keep going down and down and down and down. And let's say you are way, 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 way down here on the bottom. So right there and then there's 20 people above you that might be selling their item for cheaper than what you're trying to sell yours for. So you might be sitting on that cartridge for many, many months, just waiting and waiting for that sale. Whereas you can get a quick sale with just paying maybe an extra dollar or two, and you're up to the top of the list there. It sells quick, and you're done and set, and you're ready to go to the next product and sell that quickly as well. Some of the ones I would not recommend doing this for are basically things like power tools or more obscure items like that, as you can see here. This is my listing here that I've posted up for a power tool that I'm trying to sell, and there's only 5 other listings for it on this particular item. And so, paying for a sponsored listing for this would be incredibly stupid, because you would get absolutely no extra exposure, and you're already listed on the top there for the item, and there isn't many other choices. You got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and you can kind of reduce the price a little bit and fluctuate, but all you got to pretty much do is wait till someone buys the other 1 or 2, and then you just wait it out, and eventually yours will sell, because yours is going to be the only one listed, or very few are going to be listed in that particular niche. So this is somewhere where I'd recommend not purchasing sponsored listings, because there's absolutely no point. You'll get absolutely no extra benefit. But going back to, let's get all the way back here. Even Mario, or just, any kind of niche like this that has a very common game or common item, whatever, what have you, and you go through all of these listings, and it's ultimately pretty pointless. You won't really get any extra exposure than you would just selling the individual item. If it's limited in inventory, like there's only 6 listings for this, but when you have 2,000, 3,000, 4,000 listings for something you're trying to sell, the sponsored listings can be very beneficial, assuming that you're still profiting even after the PayPal fees, shipping fees, and all of that, and the sponsored listing fees. So it can be worth it, but only for the items that kind of sell en masse. I wouldn't recommend putting this for ones that are more niche. So if you're trying to unload an item that's is going to get you profit off of it, but at the same time you're not going to really get extra exposure. So if I put this sponsored listing, I'd go from number 1 spot to number 1 spot with the words sponsored on it, and that's the only benefit I'd get from doing that. With this power tool, I know eventually it's going to sell, so there's no point in